Welcome to another episode of Six Figure Secrets for Fractional Experts. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm your host. I'm our founder and CEO of Mylance. Today, I'm joined by Mitch Carson. Mitch has taken two companies public. He's a sales and marketing expert. He's a speaker, entrepreneur, and he will show you the path to be number one choice in your niche. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bradley. Excited to be here.
Happy to have you. So elaborate on my intro. Like, what are you doing right now in your career? What sets you apart?
I help people get wrapped in a Tiffany box versus being a Target box. So if you're going in to work and get on a speaking stage, a prestigious stage, and you come in with a cheap suit, you've got no video reel, you've got no book, you've got no media to back you, not even a podcast interview on your website. I'm the guy that's going to shift you to make you a really well-polished gem such that you stand out against all the other rough-cut gems out there, just for purpose of metaphor. And there is a step-by-step process, and it involves a lot of elements.
Well, our audience are mainly looking to win new clients, and the market out there for fractional executives is more crowded than it's ever been.
Wow.
So what is the advice you can give to our audience that they're looking to stand out, they're looking to differentiate themselves, they're looking to be that Tiffany box? Like, what should they do?
Well, let's take a look at Jeff and Bob. Jeff has the same credentials that Bob does. They both went to Harvard Business School, so they already have a lot of distinction because Harvard is branding, really is. It's the most recognized, best institution in the world. And so they already have that branding piece, where they went to school. They both worked for Accenture, one of the big, or McKinsey. They both work for those big houses, so they've got that credential on their curriculum vitae. What Bob has versus the other name I gave, Bob has a book that he's written about the importance and what you need to look for in a fractional CEO. And Bill, so it's Bob and Bill. Let's just keep them Bob and Bill. So Bob has also written guest columns for Forbes. He's written guest columns for Entrepreneur Magazine. He's written guest columns. He's also been featured in the Wall Street Journal. And he does a monthly callback on the local network television in his hometown. So when someone looks up Bob, they realize he's credentialed fully. He's got a book. Oh, and by the way, his LinkedIn profile is all-star status. It's completely filled out, and he's got 50 recommendations from people that he's worked with. Now, Bill is equally qualified. He went to Harvard Business School. He might even be better looking than Bob. But Bill has just rested on his laurels of going to Harvard Business School, and he's done nothing with his social media. He has refused radio show interviews, podcast interviews with Bradley Jacobs. He's refused interviews with the local television station because it's not New York. It's only in his hometown of Austin, and it's local only to Texas. So that arrogance will cost him contracts. It's checking the right boxes to stand out because being distinctive matters. Do you go pick up your date with a clean car or is it smudged? And all these things matter when you are looked at to get hired because think about it. It's all how you're packaged. I mean, I mentioned briefly, it's the Tiffany box metaphor. If you're going to go and package yourself and you want premium prices, you want to get picked up, who garners more attention? A diamond that's presented to a prospective fiance that is in a box from Target, one from Tiffany. Which one's going to get you a backup? I think the Tiffany box. You will get bought based on how you present yourself. You pick somebody up in a clean car or one that's smudged and dirty and has got garbage and litter in the back seat or on the front seat on the floor. It's all about presentation because people buy based on perceived value. Because I go back to Bob and Bill, they went to the same school. Their marks, which nobody cares about once you're out anyway, are equal. But one took the extra, made the extra effort to stand out and truly get wrapped in blue and white paper.
So what I'm hearing is that you might be the smartest person in the world and the best person for that client. But if you're not doing a good job showcasing that on the external front, LinkedIn, your website, any sort of Forbes article, whatever it is, it almost doesn't matter how smart you are, how good a fit you are for that client.
100% is what can they talk about and justify in their mind? Because if you don't have all those boxes checked, Bradley, you're not going to get hired. It doesn't. Now, I'm using Harvard as an example that already people, their eyes are going to go up. That's the number one school in America, probably in the world. If you go to Harvard Business School, man, you're credentialed. We respect that as Americans. It's like, okay, you went to the top of the food chain right there. You got on Good Morning America out of New York. You are absolutely irrefutably the expert in that category. Nobody can deny it. However, if your competitor has gone there also, has gone to Harvard, he has a book. He's also contributed to these credible publications. He's on the radio regularly. He's been interviewed on 50 podcasts. The decision is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I can ask you the same question. I'm going to redirect it back at you. You're a smart guy. Why are you doing this podcast? Why do you do this versus just pitching your services for helping lead generation for fractional execs? Because it gives you distinction against other people in your sector. I'm sure you're not the only lead guy, and I'm sorry to redirect, but it's a good example. Is how you're doing this because you're distinctive. You're the expert. You're on the cutting edge of your craft because you're talking to people who are in the field. You are on the cutting edge. They're going to go to you because you're podcast hosts. You've also probably done more than podcasting. I don't know you that well yet. I've already got clients I can refer to you. But I'm saying you have done something more than your competition normally would. It's a pain in the butt to create a podcast, to become a host. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We had to get this sorted, with the editing and all these things to start. It takes a little bit of effort. And oftentimes people will, let's go back to when we were in school. You submit your term paper. And you don't want to go back and edit or reread it. You think, oh my God, I've done it. I've crossed the finish line. No, that's the difference between an A and an A minus paper, or even a B plus. If you don't go back and edit, make a little bit extra effort in order to come from a place of excellence versus normal or ordinary, the extraordinary person gets the gold. The extraordinary person. And it's also in the world of sales, 8% of the salespeople make 80% of the income worldwide because they do a little bit of extra work. And the same goes with packaging yourself. It's all about your personal brand. And if you have fractional experts that are making good money, but they want more leads is one thing, but then it's their job to close the deal, isn't it? You don't close it for them. You
Correct.
Provide the fish, buddy. You got to fillet it.
So this has come up a number of times on this podcast with guests about going the extra mile, right? Doing that extra step. So let's talk about it for the individual who went to the state school because it was cheaper.
Sure.
And then, and then they did their best to kind of climb the corporate ladder, maybe some startups that did okay, but you haven't heard of them. So they don't have that big brand name. They don't have Harvard. They don't have, a Microsoft or Google on their resume. They need to really go the extra mile, right?
100%. They got to make up for that gap, man.
What do they do? What does that person do?
Write a book, if not a book series. get booked on media regularly, get on podcasts, write for a local publication, make sure you get included or pay somebody to get you into Forbes or Entrepreneur Press at minimum, because you got to make up for that state college that you went to versus a guy that paid his dues and went to Stanford, Yale, Harvard, Princeton. They paid to go. That's a brand. They invested in a brand. Is the schooling any better? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Might be the same core curriculum, but it's a matter of what are you branded as Tiffany or are you Target? I like to use that as the contrast, the same thing. I went to a good university, but it certainly didn't get me jobs in life. Nobody cares. What they care about is what have you done with it since? And what are you doing? What have you done for me lately? The same holds true for media. Are you consistently, it's more of your younger generation with, I think in your avatar must have a regular and strong presence on LinkedIn. I'm a strong advocate. LinkedIn is their gold. They must be on LinkedIn. Number one. Should have, I'm going to should on people here. It stinks a little bit, but we'll clean it up at the end. They should have a book. At least a 10,000 word book, can be soft cover. It's a fancy business card. Is it quality? That's another discussion, but they must have at least a book to hand to somebody versus a flimsy business card. Or here, scan my phone. No, something tangible, physical stands out, especially if they've gone to the state college. They got to use something to up their game. Make up for it. Put in the extra hours. Put in the time. Michael Jordan got cut from his basketball team when I think he was a sophomore. He got cut in high school. He worked his ass off to work out, and we know the rest of the story. He put in the extra effort. Kobe Bryant put in the extra effort. Everybody that we know who's exceptional did something extraordinary. Humble beginnings doesn't mean you have to stay there. The past doesn't have to equal the future if you define your own future. And standing out is critical. So I think for your audience, LinkedIn, number one. YouTube isn't bad. That's certainly a nice addition to talk about. It doesn't have to be a daily deal. You don't have to be a creator and put a nose ring in. Okay, that can be unnecessary. Just do one. If you have about 10 to 20 videos up on your YouTube channel, I think you're golden. You don't have to have 1 million subscribers to get the gold plaque from YouTube. But to show that you are competent and you can communicate clearly and on point, and you are a proven expert in your topic, YouTube is a legitimizer. They're going to look you up. Full stop. I'll tell a story if I may. Do I have time for a good story? And that applies. I had 38 speakers that I was training that came over to my event called Speak in Dubai. All of them spoke in Dubai. Then I pulled a group, 35 were able to get a visa to fly over to Bahrain, neighboring country, an hour flight up and down. It borders Saudi Arabia. We were speaking at the University of Bahrain. 16 of my speakers did not have fully developed LinkedIn profiles. LinkedIn is taken so seriously in the Middle East, it's beyond what we understand here. 16 of those people were not allowed to speak because they didn't believe they were legitimate. They just said no. Good luck arguing with the government over there. They had to sit in the audience because I warned them, fill out your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have a banner. Make sure you have a good headshot in your profile. Make sure you have some content up there. I gave them plenty of advance notice. Not my job to police them. But Bahrain was serious. They had to sit in the audience and look. And we had the royal family there to observe these people. It was a big deal how they missed out. So I learned a hard lesson. take it seriously. So LinkedIn is number one in the business community because the statistic I read, and Bradley, you would probably know better than me, but the average person on LinkedIn makes, I think, about 160 grand. Is that a little high or is that about right?
Feels a little high, but
okay. All right. So 10 or 120 grand, or whatever, 6 figures. They're probably in the 6-figure range, the proverbial 6 figures. Look like it. Look like it. Match, be congruent with your brand.
So I can hear the fractionals saying, I don't have time to write a book. I don't know how to get in Forbes. I don't have time for any of this. What do you say to those people that are coming back to you saying, I don't have time to write a 10,000 word book?
Hire me. It's what I do. I'm not here to pitch myself, but you asked the question. I guarantee people to get covered on television in 2 days on 4 different networks here in Las Vegas. Only in Las Vegas. This is where I work it. I'm a TV show host on NBC Studios here. I have my own show called Amazing Authorities. And then if you want to get on other television shows, talk about it. A book's a bigger conversation than this show would entail. Because of Chat GPT today, it shortens the time frame. Doesn't eliminate it. Depends on what you want. But working with AI today has shortened everything. You still need the human touch. There are many ways to get a book done quickly, and ChatGPT is the short answer.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. So when we think about LinkedIn, because I'm a huge believer in LinkedIn as well, your profile needs to be built out, professional, all that kind of stuff. I'm also a big believer in posting content on a daily, regular basis on LinkedIn.
Totally. We're in absolute lockstep.
What do you think? I pitched a certain thing. What do you think people should be posting on LinkedIn?
All right. This has evolved a little bit. My former thinking was tips, maybe using one infographic a week or putting a few infographics. People love the visual element. Certainly create YouTube shorts from your content. AI can help create video shorts, maybe 1 to 3 minutes long, even to put up there. Some people put memes. It's not just written content. It's visual. People have changed. Books, 10,000 to 20,000 words. You can give a teaser. I would say a lot of lead magnets can be uploaded. If you want, here are the 17 things you need to know in order to be an effective fractional executive. And if you want 24 more tips, click on this link, enter your email address, and then they're in your Go High Level account. I mean, it's the process. You know how to suck them through. Here are 3 tips, but if you want 24 more, make them thirsty, don't quench their appetite. So I think a succession of lead magnets, maybe some video content with tips. Maybe it's a clip or a short of an interview that Bradley did with Mitch Carson as an example, or another great guest. All of those are elements. I'm curious what your program is because we're both in lockstep there. LinkedIn is the bomb for our respective audience. Professionals with money. It's a starving crowd with money, and you've got to give them something to eat.
Yeah. I'm big on sharing your experiences, wins, mistakes, learnings, case studies, because it legit, for our consultants who are looking to win business, when you share an experience you had growing a company from X to Y or improving profitability or whatever it was deep in your niche, other people see that. Not only is it interesting because it's an inside look, but you're validating yourself in your area of expertise. And then they reach out and you say, hey, Mitch, you shared about the best practices to get on Forbes. Can I talk to you about it? And then all of a sudden you have a lead, right? So it generates inbound by sharing your experiences.
No, I agree with that. And the other thing I've done a couple times on LinkedIn is LinkedIn live events, where LinkedIn is a free platform. I come from the live events background. I've produced over 2,000 live in-person events. I'm not talking about virtual, whole different game, but in-person events. And I know what it costs to generate an event. And even if someone were one of your consultants, you might be a vehicle for them to do that on LinkedIn. I mean, you may even consider, I don't know if you've done any LinkedIn events to leverage that platform. It's free. Oh, free leads? Who's heard of that? I mean, that's a nice way to go to show your skills, to give them a taste of you. And then if they want more, they get to opt in, or they get to set up an appointment, or whatever it is that you use as your closing process.
So switching gears a little bit, or it's along similar lines of, you told me at the beginning of this call about how important it is to be different.
Yes.
Right. So one of the things I hear you say is do more, right? Like write that book or get on that show or whatever it is. How can I, when I get on that show or I write that book or whatever it is, how do I brand myself differently from, if I'm a fractional CMO, there's 100,000 CMOs out there. How do I think about being different from all those people?
All right. If everybody gets on media, that's great. You've already separated yourself from the masses. So that's one. You've written a book. You've separated yourself again from people. So you're all in Little League together. In order to get to high school baseball, you've got to go to practice more. So you've gotten on a radio show. You've gotten on a TV show or two. You then start your own podcast, and you've guested on podcasts. It's a matter of checking more boxes than your competition, especially if you've gone to the state school. Write for a publication. Learn the publicity game, because it's all about packaging yourself, Bradley. You know this. I mean, you're nodding, and I'm not even, pushing you to do this. It's the reality. It's a formula, is the way I would say. The right ingredients are necessary in order to grow that bread, and do it for a specific amount of time. And then you, in order to create another loaf of bread, you got to bake it again, putting those ingredients in. And it's consistent uploads. Like you said, you post on LinkedIn every day. That is a great way, one platform. How much more engagement will you have, less or more, if you show one of your posts being on Fox TV? How much more, of course, versus, the person that doesn't. It's credentializing you. Again, going back to the metaphor of the Tiffany box, which I like to use a lot. It's the most prestigious. The presumption is your quality. The operative word is presumption. Only because when you leave the room, how they talk about you is your personal brand. When you're not there, and what they say about you is what they perceive your value to be. And if you are an author, you regularly post on LinkedIn, you've got great tips, you've got great lead magnets, you've got mini trainings, you've been on LinkedIn events, you've been on a radio show, you are a podcast host, you've been covered in Forbes, you've been covered in Entrepreneur, on and on and on. Who can argue you aren't the shit? I mean, they can't take that away from you. Once you're published in the Wall Street Journal, when I got published in the Wall Street Journal, nobody can take that away from me. It was years ago. It was a small article, but it was published.
Yeah.
It was about me in the Wall Street Journal. It's 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But you think they could take that away from me? No. It's incredible.
Other than hiring you, what are the best strategies for anyone to get featured in a major media outlet?
Well, you've got a couple tips. And this, not everybody's eligible to be hired by me. And it's certain, because it's only in Las Vegas, this is where it is. If they are calling from Alaska and they have no chance on traveling, don't call me. It's for people who want to come and get discovered. But for people who can't or are incapable, I'm certainly going to dispense the value. The formula is simple. It's called newsjacking. Find out what's timely in the marketplace right now. We are in the throes of probably the most pivotal election in U.S. history. What's going on? And if you can have an opinion on something that's hot and trending, easier entree to get on TV. Piggyback on what's trending. That's tip number one. Number two, write a book, a quick book. However, there are a lot of people that can teach you that. I'm not the only one. If they know somebody, doesn't matter. Hire them. Get somebody to get a book done for you quickly. And if you can tie it to a media calendar, what's going on, like there was Mother's Day, and it's a Mother's Day promo that ties in somehow. If you're African American, that was real easy for me to bring a bunch of African American clients on during Black History Month. Then April was Black Women's History Month. What do you think I got featured on the shows here? All Black women. Endlessly. I had 7 of them come out during that month, simply because of their skin color. Now, that opened the door. Then I had to package them because they were all authors, by the way, and professional speakers and high alpha female women. That was an experience. These strong women that came in, but they all got on TV and they killed it. They crushed it. They were ready. Just have the right attitude and feel and convey your confidence in a way that you deserve to be covered, and get media training so you sound great and you answer in sound bites, because different from a podcast where there is an ideal length of time that you're supposed to interview. I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, probably not much longer. On television, you have 4 minutes max. Yeah, CBS, it's 2.5 minutes and you're cut off, man. You're just cut off, and they switch the cameras around. They go to commercial and they're with the next guest to the next set. There are 3 sets in the studio. So they are spinning these, very expensive $150,000 cameras. 3 of them are turned on robotics, goes to the next person. It's a machine. It's a machine. Very different than what we're doing. This is relaxed, cool. I can see what time it is with your clock on the wall. All these things are pretty simple. On TV, it's big money. Fast, quick, must be prepared.
What's one piece of advice you'd leave our audience with?
Take action. It may sound simplistic. There are 3 types of people. People that look at the opportunity, take action, they jump on it. Some that watch the opportunity leave. The bus is leaving with the opportunity there. And then the 3rd type wonders what happens. And they wonder why they're broke. Wonder why they aren't closing deals. Well, it's simply an addressing of what's going on between your right ear and your left ear. I think it's mostly mindset. Attitude happens. But your attitude will shift without even your awareness by checking these boxes. I'll just say this one thing for people. When I wrote my first book, my income went up 16-fold because I believed I deserved. I believed I deserved. Yeah.
Where can our audience find you?
GetInterviewedGuaranteed.com/meet with Mitch.
Okay.
And they can set up a call. We'll talk about your media plan if it's something you want to do. If you are serious, give me a call. If you're not, maybe at a later date.
Sounds good. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for being on the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Bradley.